this, why the feminist movement needs to fight this? Well, we believe that the absence of menstrual leave represents a structure that inherently prioritizes male bodies. What this means that if women and female bodies were included in the making of today's society, we believe that menstrual leave is a default. We believe that menstrual leave would have happened if women were powerful, equally powerful in making today's society. But because it is not, and because women were historically excluded from creating the standards of today's society, male bodies who do not have menstrual cycles are prioritized in today's society. But the reason why this is important is because this creates a system in which women have to personally compensate for having a menstrual cycle. They have to pay for medication, they have to pay for menstrual products that could allow them to go to work without worrying about their blood leaking. And that's why when the opening opposition talked about a situation where in which pharmaceutical companies will create better products, that's exactly the kind of thing that we want to oppose. We don't want to put any more personal burden on women. We think the companies should bear this burden because structurally they are the ones responsible for making people with menstrual cycles suffer. And another reason why this is important is because it creates a false sense of guilt in women who have, or people who have menstrual cycles. They cannot speak up, they cannot state menstrual cycle as a legitimate reason why they need to be off from work, why they need to be put off from this project, or why they need to have a certain amount of rest during lunch or during break. And furthermore, this is exemplified in situations where transgender men who are like the suffering from these kind of taboos, where they do have menstrual cycles, but they're men in society and they cannot speak up about these things. Not just women, but trans men suffer from these like tabooization, and that's why the feminist movement needs to fight this. And secondly, about why it needs to support a diversity of needs. We heard from the opening opposition that some women do not need this, that there will be free riders. Well, first of all, yes, that's true. There is a diversity of symptoms. There's heaviness in pain, and load is different. But it's reasonable to assume that some people don't need any days, but some people may need 5 days, and we think that's reasonable to be able to decide that. But furthermore, why do we need to prioritize the free riders and preventing companies from losing? As a feminist movement, we should be able to support those people who are suffering the most from their biological features. And then moving on to my third extension about why internal change within companies will not occur without the feminist movement. First of all, like they said, bosses don't understand. Companies are hierarchical and male-dominated, and there's too much emphasis on visible results, and that's why so many companies' bosses are men oftentimes, and like they said, we agree that they wouldn't be able to understand. But secondly, even if it's a woman CEO or a woman leader, they are the ones who succeeded within the patriarchal system that excludes people with menstrual cycles and with heavy impacts. So those women probably don't need to take breaks, and they probably don't understand the needs of those minority of women who suffer so much from menstrual cycles. And that's why we don't think there will be any sort of system in which women can actually internally change the system where menstrual leaves are not allowed. Before I move on, yes.
Okay, because of menstrual leave, the working day of women will be 3 days to 5 days lesser than the men's. Considering the career path and skills of women, do you think this is good for the communities to?
Yeah, and they should be compensated for those days. They should be paid as when they're sick. They are sick on those days, and they should be paid equally. So that's irrelevant to this debate. And finally, I'd like to give you an extension about why feminist movement is possibly the only institution that can pressurize. So the state has male interests, it is a patriarchal system to begin with, and administrators, and they listen to companies, and they try to not regulate companies as much as possible. Furthermore, there are other important issues that are in national debate or in local debates, such as wages, working time, the pollution, or taxations, and that's why we think that menstrual cycle is such a minute issue that will be crowded out from conversations by governments. And furthermore, we think that the ability to change political behavior is actually feasible because companies will care about what feminists feminist consumers would think. They would care about social network services that would talk about this issue. They would care about angel-stated issues and tweets, and they would take down ads that would that promotes the opposite of this. And we think as a movement, the moment we raise this discourse, the moment we make people talk about this, we win. And for these reasons, we expect to propose.
Next, I'd like to call for the member of opposition to open your case within 7 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Opening government just told us, and actually the closing government told us, that their goal is to trigger debate, and that is a good thing. Well, what I'm going to add from closing opposition is a realistic analysis of where that debate is going to end in. And we say that companies are not going to accept this, and therefore move in a way that excludes women from entering the job place and getting higher jobs in the first place, and that is actually far more harmful than having no menstrual cycles, no menstrual leave, and that is what we're going to. That is going to be an extension from our side. So basically, we think that we understand everything about what government has told us. We understand that periods is basically an issue for women only, and people are suffering, and we understand to some extent. And I'm sure that companies do understand that as well. But even if these kind of things are important, we think it is actually more important that feminist movements actually get practical results. Now that was the case run from the opening opposition. What we are going to add from closing opposition is a realistic analysis, and we're going to focus on companies' responses and the responses of manosphere, and how that debate is going to end, and that end is going to be bad for women, and that's why we think this policy should fall. Now, before going into that extension, I'm going to give just a couple of rebuttals to what we heard from the previous speaker. Now, she has told us that feminist movement's goal is to start the debate. Ladies and gentlemen, if you look on your floor, you will probably notice that this is just an assertion and hasn't been backed up with any reason whatsoever. Now, but more what we say, that if you care, and they have told us that feminist movement should care about those who need that leave, then probably the ultimate goal is to give them that leave, but they haven't shown us a way that is going to be achieved at all. Now, ladies and gentlemen, they have told, we would point to the fact that the feminist movement has in fact, throughout history, worked in political arena, not just starting debates in SNSs. They have actually lobbied parliamentary members so that they can actually get results. So they are going for more hardware changes, not just starting debates. So that is an example to show that their setting of goal is probably not the right goal. We think actual result is what we should consider in this debate. Now, moving on to my extension, which is about the responses of the companies. Now, if you look at the companies which are changing under the status quo, which the opening opposition pointed out, it would be limited to those who care about the brand images because they're engaged in cosmetic businesses or lingerie businesses for women, and they have a lot of money so that they can actually pay for the loss of people leaving due to menstrual pain and these kind of things. Now, but the reality is that a lot of companies which are not taking this policy of allowing women to leave based on their monthly things, ladies and gentlemen, are smaller companies who don't necessarily have the ability to pay the cash that is necessary for the continuation of their businesses, and this is a sad reality. Okay, and we think this policy actually if you actually have women leaving a company, for example, 5 days a week, when you only have 5 days a month, when you only have 20 days a month working, that is probably going to be a huge loss. You're basically paying 25% extra money to that employee, and that is going to be a huge burden on companies, or at least the companies may think that it's going to be a huge loss for them. Now, the thing is, the OG and CG told us that this is only going to be a discussion, nothing is going to change, it's not their burden to change. But the thing is, the reality is that companies are going to think, just like feminist movement has achieved political changes in the parliament, like for example having quotas and having subsidies of parliament, like female executives in companies, sit down, they are going to expect with reasonable certainty that this is probably going to end up being a policy, and I am going to be forced to employ women and then pay 25% more. Sit down, and that is going to be a reasonable expectation of these companies. Now, also, we think that because opening government didn't really tell us what kind of leave schemes they are proposing, companies probably used to think that they would take the most riskful case scenario and basically their employment policies on that. They would think they're going to leave 5 days a week, and that is going to be a loss. Maybe you can't really judge whether that person is actually having a very heavy pain, but you still have to give them the leave. And also, they point to the fact there is a notion and societal trend towards employees actually consuming all of the capacity of leaving, and within companies will link this policy to that. Okay.
So, for you to still be relevant, could you please provide us with an alternative to trigger a conversation about the structural issue that would create incentives for those patriarchal-dominated societies?
One, we don't really think that is a burden on the side. Our burden is to prove that there's going to be harm caused by this policy. But secondly, we say that there are some companies which are changing, and that probably, it is small and it's slow, but it is probably going to cause some level of discourse, and we think that is what we are going to stand for. Now, in these kind of situations, companies would think, there's going to be a huge risk if I hire a woman now, because that policy is going to be maybe implemented in 2 years later, and that person is probably going to be leaving, and that is going to be a loss to me, and therefore that's kind of harm is going to happen. I'll sit down. Secondly, if you look at the response of the manosphere, they would probably say things like, well, like the opening opposition has mentioned, free riders is going to exist and that kind of thing. And if you are a member of the human manager of the human resources department of a relatively small company, you would probably buy that logic and say, because we can't really set a fair standard that is fair for all of our employees, because we can't judge whether somebody is in pain or somebody is not, we're not going to employ this policy and these kind of things. And that is going to be the response of the companies. Why do we think this is important for feminist movements? It's because feminist movement is actually there to set goals, and the recent goal that they have actually achieved is to increase the employment of women in the workplace and increase promotion of women in the first place. Now, that is very important. And if you stop this trend of increasing employment by saying that employing women is going to be a risk that directly buys into your budget, Mr. Speaker, that is probably going to be reversed. Now, we say that starting a career is important because if you don't start a career, you can't actually compile a career to begin with. And therefore, if the goal of feminism is actually make women's future opportunities larger, at the point you can't start a career when you want to, that is going to be a huge harm for everyone. We point to the fact that 99% of the companies in the society are small and medium companies which may not have the budget, and therefore it is harmful. We look at the reality of women. Thank you.
Thank you, member of opposition. Next, I'd like to call upon the government to summarize this debate within 7 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I'm going to examine 3 flashpoints in this speech. Number 1, why social movement or feminist movement should deal with it, not just government or any other institution. Secondly, the public perception of menstrual leave. Number 3, what kind of subconscious preconception or perception we would like to remove and attack through this motion. Moving on to that first, why social movement? Why feminist movement, not like any other institutions? They say the goal of the closing opposition explained that the goal of feminist movement to get a practical results. So what kind of results are important at this stage of feminist movement? We have already guaranteed or achieved basic gender equality, no employment discrimination status quo. There's no unreasonable discrimination that is happening now in the workplace. So what's the priority and concern for this stage of feminist movement right now? The mission now that feminist movement have to deal with is to explore more unrecognized areas of interest and cater to more nuanced, more diverse, and realistic demands of variety types of women. This is what we have to reach out in the status quo right now at this moment. That's what my partner extended in this debate. Therefore, I don't think the mission of any social movement is to administrate immediate change. That's not the burdens of proof of any social movement. But the important thing is the existence of vocal opposition highlights the issue so that the interests or nuanced interests are never be clouded out by other interests and remain relevant to corporations and the workplace. That's the kind of the picture that we would like to uphold in this debate. And the opposition's rebuttal is like this. Because of financial risk, companies are less likely to hire women, offer opportunity and chances to women. First of all, that's factually very dubious. It doesn't cost a lot to corporation, like Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen. Even in the status quo, the people take leave for paid leaves when they get injured. When they become sick, people take leaves. But that's not much of risk for corporation. Sorry guys, that's very marginal financial burden for vast majority of corporations. We don't think like vast majority of reasonable female workers will randomly take leave for no bad reasons. They are more rational when they take leave. Only in a necessary circumstance, female employee reasonably take leave. Hence, like only twice or once or 5 days a month will not be constitute a huge risk so that corporation will like simply negate any responsibility to hire women and offer a job opportunity and chances for female employees. But even if it costs a lot, the financial cost is not a justification for corporation to perpetuate social injustices. Maybe it's like costly for corporation to hire a female CEO. Maybe it will be very costly for corporation to introduce maternity leave or paternity leave or even paid leave. But that's not a justification for corporation to perpetuate social injustice. But at least feminist movement have a duty to point out that's not a justification for corporation to do that. That's exactly what we'd like to change and fight. If corporations are not willing enough, if the small and medium-sized corporations are so misogynistic to the extent that they have no incentive or willingness to remove and to improve the workplace conditions for women, the feminist movement have a duty to fight against those corporations so that corporations will even gradually start to change their corporate behavior. Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen. Like they say, like an employment opportunity is a practical result that they want. No, that's just a superficial result. That's not the genuine equality that we would like to achieve on this side of the house. And that's relevant to our first explanation or picture about feminist movement. Now is not a time to like try to achieve like a basic superficial equality, but to reach out more nuanced and realistic and diverse interests that all female employees embrace more or less. This is exactly what we'd like to challenge on this side of the house. To the extent we can reasonably achieve our missions as the current feminist movement and in this stage now. Moving on to the second clash point in this debate, the perception of menstrual leave. The problem is menstrual leave is considered as a marginal issue. That's why administrations have insufficient incentive to impose regulation or legal measure about it. For example, when the administration intervene, they really care the relationship with industries and corporations or economic activity. That's why the regulation or imposition of legal measure is very minimal. Like when it comes to like working time or extra working time or minimum wage standard or pollution, those types of regulations are prioritized over menstrual issue. Hence, the government or administration have very small incentive to step in and impose the regulation. That's why feminism institutions, feminism movement, the social movement is the only institution that women are able to count on. Even labor union, like menstrual leave will never become the main agenda of the discussion table. So as parliament and legislature. That's why social movement has to take initiative to reach out these nuanced issues, Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen. Otherwise, this specific issue will be clouded out by any other type of interest and concern. Even if corporations or unions, administration try to deal with the female issues and their rights, maybe like more like a superficially major concern, like number of CEO or the introduction of paternity leave, those issues are prioritized over menstrual leave. So in order to reach out this specific need, the power of social movement is essential. Take you now. Closing.
Okay, so yes, I think a lot of companies do understand that women are needing some leaves, but if it actually harms to their profit by giving them more leaves, that is probably something they can't accept. Look at the reality of it.
I don't. Okay. The fact that the companies have that incentive is not a justification for us to let them continue to do that. That's the duty of feminist movement, to try to remove the most basic or profound level of inequality in a structural level. That's the mission that we have right now at this moment. Mr. Speaker, just because we cannot expect practically or superficially sound result, it doesn't automatically mean as a movement we should take the easiest way and just make a concession, a compromise to that. That's not what the existence of movement actually means to the society. Finally, what kind of subconception that we'd like to tackle and remove on this side of the house? First of all, the false sense of guilt. Many female workers believe that it is not appropriate to take leave for this small issue. But that's not true. She should not think in that specific way. They are just brainwashed by existing misogynistic and chauvinistic corporate culture as closing opposition try to glamorize and glorify in this debate. That's exactly the kind of thought we should attack and remove for any cost, for any financial cost. It may cost a little bit for corporations' pocket money, but we don't care as a social movement. That's not our first priority. But the fact that the vocal opposition remains is essential to highlight the issues, so that issues will not be clouded out by any other concerns. Thank you very much.
Thank you, government. Finally, I'd like to call upon the opposition whip to summarize this debate within 7 minutes. Here, here.
Three things to summarize this debate. Firstly, the necessity of the symbol in terms of this kind of feminist movement, and secondly, the response of the corporation, and thirdly, whether or not taking the menstrual leave is really beneficial and empower the women's right. All the battle will be integrated. So firstly, in terms of necessity of the symbol. Firstly, they mentioned that regardless of the strategy and practical merit, that we need to have the symbol. We don't think so. Actually, lots of the social movement fail because they claim that such kind of too much requirement. Like for example, pacifist movement, that they require zero war situation. That's why the society do not respond to this situation. Or radical animal movement, because radically they claim this kind of animal right, society do not respond that. That's why I said that not only such kind of symbolic and principle argumentation, rather than such kind of practical implementation and strategic interest is also important in terms of social movement. And they may opening comment mention that the symbolic or this is symbolically this trigger the debate. Firstly, the symbol never ever make the better of the women's right in the first places, and secondly, the supporting that this is not supporting the leave. They only supporting the symbol of menstruality. They never support menstruality leave. We don't necessarily debate on this kind of leave in the first places. As opening opposition mentioned that, like for example, promoting that this kind of curing the menstrual is also supporting because this is symbol as a menstrual as of the women. We think there is no problem with that. That's as long as entire government side fail to prove that such kind of necessity of leave, we think this kind of symbol is not to make the sensical in the first places. That's why I say in terms of social movement, we think we should strategically consider the situation, and we shouldn't utilize this kind of menstrual leave as a symbol of the feminist movement. That's why we think we are very proud to oppose. Secondly, in terms of response of the corporation, which is a main extension coming from the closing opposition. Closing opposition respond to this point because this is simply the marginal risk or the marginal cost of the corporation, like for example injury or the paternity leave. We think that this is paternity leave or maternity leave. We think this is clearly different because firstly that this kind of all women that this kind of menstrual leave comes to every month in the first places. We think this kind of continuous leave from the workplace is particularly costful because in the small corporation, which is consists of 99% of developed countries, the corporation is actually work as a small project. That's why the one women leave because of the menstrual leave 3 or 5 days per month. In this situation, the project will never ever work for this kind of small corporation. We think in this particular context, different from the injury which is randomly happen, or different from the paternity leave or maternity leave, because this is continuously that only that take the certain period of time, and the project preemptively prepare this situation. We think this kind of risk or the cost of menstrual leave is particularly significant in the first places. We think in this particular situation, the two implementation happening. Firstly, we think no. We think firstly that implicitly the small corporation implicitly avoid the cost and implicitly apply such a high bar on the women in terms of job recruiting. And second problem is in terms of providing job, the women are less likely to get such kind of higher and experienced complicated job, and in order to avoid this kind of risk of menstrual leave. We think this situation is the disgusting situation for the feminist movement as they characterize. We concede we should fight this situation, but what we need to understand is reality actually that this kind of corporation, which is small corporation, which do not protect this kind of CSR policy. We think this kind of corporations are actually dominating the market in the first places. We think that's why until the feminist movement succeeds to abolish this kind of concept of the anti-feminist idea, we think this policy and this debate should not be taken in the first places. This is a clear explanation of our side of the house. Closing.
If the reality is in favor of men, should the feminist movement give up and make a concession compromise and adjust themselves to male-dominant society?
We are not talking about we give up. We never ever give up fighting against this kind of the patriarchy corporation. But the way or strategy of combating is not should be step by step as we characterize. That's why before that this kind of corporation change the idea and there's possibility we can diminish the possibility to discriminate based on this kind of policy. We should wait for this kind of wait for menstrual debate. This is a clear contention coming from outside of the house. So thirdly, in terms of taking the menstrual leave, it's really, or whether or not taking the menstrual leave is really beneficial for the women. Firstly, we say even if for some successful cases for the some corporation, because we already mentioned that 99% is rather bad situation. We think firstly that this kind of comparatively large corporation is the women in this kind of corporation are relatively privileged already. That's why compared with 99% corporations of women who even lose that job opportunity, who even lose such kind of opportunity to improve their own career. We think for this kind of women we should prioritize that kind of number and quality in terms of vulnerability in the first places. No, we think that's why this kind of even if some women can get the benefit because they support the menstrual leave, we think still this is not beneficial entirely. And secondly, we think that this kind of taking menstrual leave does not always beneficial for the women, because not only such kind of financial compensation, but also in terms of career is also important for the women. Not only this kind of they just having the money and keeping their own position is not beneficial for the women, because women have to be improved as same as men or even above the men. But we say in their paradigm that these kind of women cannot do the job because 3 days to 5 days, and this kind of pressure to take this kind of menstrual leave is also have to apply, because currently the pressure to take the paid leave itself is also happening in the status quo. That's why surroundings maybe kindly that they say you should take the menstrual leave and you should test 3 days or 5 days. We see in this situation actually in 3 days or 5 days the other male worker working and they experience the career, experience lots of things, and they can evaluate it by the bosses. We think this kind of the opportunity cost is so huge for the women. That's why I say even if they can success for the large corporation, still this is disadvantageous for the women. That's why we are very proud to oppose.
Thank you for your cooperation.
お疲れ様です。
じゃあ帰ります。これ何？
じゃあ